It's very haphazard. There's an original camp which is for registered refugees, 1992, with. Am I talking?
No.
Teaching grades?
No.
Okay. That were registered at UNHCR, and so they are proper.
So that's the inner circle in our
official
little picture.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how many of them, but they're well integrated really with the local people. Been there since 1992, and then since then there've been waves and waves and waves, and they've put them all in this area. The Bangladeshi government wants to have a mega camp going Kutupalong down to Balokali, which is the next bit on the bottom of here. I've actually got some MSF maps.
So if they
want a mega camp, are they?
We don't want a mega camp because if you get an outbreak or something, it's going to rip through the whole area.
But if the Bangladeshi authorities want them contained in that area, are they open to a certain amount of more, perhaps permanent construction in relation to things like latrines?
Well, MSF are building latrines, yes.
Yeah, but I mean, what type? Like lining the pits?
Yes, it's line pits.
And the authorities are happy with that?
They're happy with that, yes.
Oh, that's
Everyone's building latrines and wells all over the place. MSF have been a little bit more...
Not at the same place, I trust.
Unfortunately, yes.
And that's
Well,
often the
you've
case.
also got the arsenic issue as well.
But that's why you line the pits.
And-
because they're-
So we've been trying to put them in reasonable places, but there again, another NGO will come along and say, oh, you want a well? There you go. We'll put one here. Without any regard to latrines. Some of the latrines that were put in originally are filled up. And because it's flat land, people have built a house on top of the filled up latrine. Great.
That's proactive.
Yeah. Yeah, quite. So as more and more people come, they're being pushed further and further west towards the ocean. And this is all national park. It's all, it used to be elephant land, and well, it still is.
Reserve
So
forest.
When you discuss how things are, because this is something that kept snagging up on this morning, when you discuss who does what and where and things, how do you talk about the different areas of the camp? Is there some
Okay.
sort of,
There are several different ways to decide where on the topography of the camp. The local people will know it as this particular hill or that mosque or something else. We might know it according to how our map guy has gone in with GPS and people to go all around and map out the entire area, and our maps are fairly accurate. And then the army says, no, we're going to call this block C and this block A and this block B. So when the people come to us and we ask them where they're from, they often don't know, or they will say something and it's not exactly what the army think they should be.
Have you had any efforts to integrate your maps with the army maps?
I think MSF likes to keep its maps a little bit to itself, but it has shared them with the UN and other agencies. We have the maps sorted out probably by the end of, certainly the end of October.
You mentioned mosques. Could you just talk about the infrastructure of the camp? Mosques, schools, if any, for the
Well,
permanent bits and for the new
the
bits?
mosques often claim the higher ground. It's rolling hillside.
Yeah, yeah.
So they often put a mosque on the high ground, and that would be a patch
Okay.
area.
So could that also second as an area of safety in time of floods, for example, for a population?
I guess. We also try to put health centres on the top of the hills as well.
You said try, does that mean you can succeed?
Well, we have to discuss, and no one knows who actually owns the land, and you have to have a big discussion about where you can actually build something and not. It's quite complicated.
What is the sort of the level of the health centres? Whatever.
Level?
In terms of what's available at the health centres.
Okay.
What sort of services?
As soon as we realised there was going to be a big problem, and we knew that Kutupalong, this is like a hospital with 50 beds. We increased that to 81 beds just by putting bamboo structures up. But we realised a lot of people would be coming down the south to Balokali. So in 2 weeks we built a health centre, and in 2 months we built an inpatient unit, 60-bed inpatient unit. But that inpatient unit is totally filled with measles patients now. It was going to be, kids, maternity, adults.
What's the criteria for admitting measles? We had a discussion on that.
Near death.
So it is a near death.
I mean, there's no point in admitting every kid.
No, that's
So
right.
it's only when they've got SAM, or they are got respiratory distress, or they're looking really poorly that we'd admit them. So we'd probably turn away maybe 2/3.
Okay. And those that are admitted,
Are those the
mortality
only?
rate?
When I got there at the end of September until now, we've had 3 deaths in
Okay, so
critical
good.
out of about, I don't know. I mean, I don't know the actual numbers,
That sounds good.
but we're probably talking a couple hundred.
Yeah.
And we've got oxygen and, well, we're not talking about intubating people or anything, it's just health centre, it's not really hospital.
In collaboration with the district health services or the
Ah,
national health
when I first
Bearing in mind that with this, we're looking at measles, but it would have been within the context of TB and other infectious diseases, etc. And I think that the first thing that we addressed is what are the questions that we need to answer to write the plan, because the intention is that we're a group that's going in to actually manage a measles outbreak. So we spent the first time deciding what we wanted, what facts we would need to have in order to be able to do the detailed plan. So we had a long discussion over exactly what the denominator was, i.e. the total population. What was the proportion of children within that, which was clearly going to be key to actually determining things like logistics and the plan, and the rate of the new arrivals. We also had some discussion what's the numerator. About the numerator, we've been given in the scenario how many they are. We don't know whether these are concentrated or whether they're dispersed throughout the camp. And again, depending on the answer to that, would be the answer to actually how we actually carried out the plan. And then there's the whole issue of the camp dynamics, which we don't know. Are there specific points to which people come to that we could use, for example, for targeted vaccination campaign? Was there any registration being undertaken, and if so, to what extent? Do we have maps of the camp? We have, of course. And what other attractors might there be that bring people to a central point where we could actually use? These are all questions. And then there's the whole issue of technical issues. What is the vaccine? We spent some time on that. I think we decided it was MR and what's its cost. And we're told it's $0.6, 60 cents. And then the issue about vitamin A. Clearly we need to know something about the food chain. And then there's the issue about vaccinators that I'll come back to. And again, putting it into context.
Campaigns and how does this work geographically? So we started with this kind of schematic diagram of this camp population with 25,800 people. We have the wider area with 437,000. But we also have movement of 2,000 in every day, and we have people who move out, and then we have this kind of border zone as well, merging with the local population and how that works. So we thought, in an ideal scenario, we would do mass measles plus vitamin A campaign. So we would want to cover the whole population, given the low immunisation rates, the vulnerabilities, the high rates of malnutrition, for example. We were unsure about what immunisation rates are in the population anyway, but I guess on the basis of not knowing, we assumed that a mass immunisation campaign would be best. So we then